Hello, everybody. This is Zach's at it again. I'm your host, Zach Cooley, and I'm celebrating my 1,000th consecutive column of Strictly Observing. I made my debut on July 19th, 2005. Have not missed a week since then. And on September 18th, 2024, readers will see my 1,000th column in the Withville Enterprise. And as part of that, I will have a 3-part series on my interviews with the son of the creator of I Love Lucy. Those interviews took place on March 10th, 2023. But here live, I'm happy to have with me Gregg Oppenheimer, the son of Jess Oppenheimer, who created I Love Lucy. Thank you, Gregg, for being here to celebrate with me today.
Thank you for having me, Zach.
Well, it's an honor to have you here for such a momentous occasion in my life. I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate my milestone than to talk about our favorite redhead, Lucy. When I spoke to you a year ago, it's been about a year and a half ago now, in March of 2023, I had just seen a live version of your wonderful play, Lucy Loves Desi, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Sitcom. I saw it live at Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina. I was so happy that somebody in my neck of the woods picked it up. Because, as you know, I'm a lifelong Lucy lover. One of the highlights of my career was interviewing you about Lucy and your father. And in short, I think he is one of the greatest writers who ever lived. When you published his book, his autobiography, which you helped him finish, Laughs, Luck, and Lucy, How I Came to Create the Most Popular Sitcom of All Time, that is one of the best books I've ever read. It's one of the few books that I've read over and over. And I read that one over and over, and I never get tired of it. People are obviously still not getting tired of it almost 30 years after its publication, because you now have it available in audio form. Is that correct?
That's right. It came out last year. The audiobook, unabridged. It's over 8 hours long, and it was another labor of love, and I'm really proud of how it came out. The unique thing about it is the book. A unique thing at the time when it came out. The book came out in 1996, and I decided to include a CD of audio from Lucy, from the radio mostly, and some from the TV, in the back of the book. And I think it was only the second book that had ever done that. Now nobody has a CD player anymore, but there's an appendix which describes all the various tracks on the CD.
Yeah.
But in the audio book, I was able to integrate all of the archived audio into the story. So instead of reading the whole thing and then going and referring to the CD, you can just listen to it, and it's all seamless. He talks about some scene on I Love Lucy or scene on My Favorite Husband, and then you hear it. And at one point you're even taken into the control room where my dad's describing watching her do vitamin regimen and what was going on in the control room at that time, and and you're hearing her do the vitamin regimen routine as he's describing what's happening. So I think it worked really well.
Well, this is how old I am, or this is how long that I have been, and I can prove to you that I'm a true fan of this book, because in early 2000, January of 2000 to be exact, you did a special run with Amazon that if you ordered by a certain date, you could get an autographed copy that has the CD in it. So I was one of the lucky ones that got an autographed copy from you. It's dated January 26, 2000, and I have the CD. I even bought the cassette tape People won't know what I'm talking about now when I say there was a two cassette tape series of I Love Lucy behind the scenes where Larry Dobkin, I think he was a bit player in I Love Lucy.
3 different episodes, yeah.
Right. Can you tell me which ones? Because right now I can't pick it up.
He was the con man in Paris who was trying to gave counterfeit money to Lucy. And he was the counterman when Ricky and Fred were engrossed in watching a boxing match, and the girls went out while they were watching TV. He was the guy who grabbed her hand when she was trying to get change out of the cash register, and he was the head waiter when the girls ended up having to do the dishes because the boys left them with the bill at the restaurant on Equal Rights episode.
Yes, and so I even have the cassette tape of Larry Dobkin narrating a portion of that, which you called I Love Lucy behind the scenes. So I have been a faithful fan of that book for some 25 years.
You got every iteration. I'd forgotten about that. I guess the first time a publisher came to me was after the book came out in 1998, I think. They came and said, we would like to do an audiobook. And I said, great. And they said, but we just want the Lucy parts. We don't care about it. We don't care about all that stuff that happened before. I said, well, the stuff that happened before is the funniest part of the book.
Yeah, that's your father's life.
Yeah, and all those funny stories. And they said, we don't care. People just want Lucy. So they just took the second half of the book. And it came out very well. And interestingly, they said we have a professional abridger who creates abridged versions for audiobooks, and he'll go through it because even the first half is too long. We don't want it to be more than 3 hours long. So he'll cut it down. So I got this script, and I was very impressed because the guy managed to include everything, cut it down and got all the important points. And then I read it again, and I realized he'd taken every single laugh out of the book. All the humor was just extracted and removed. And so I asked him, could I take a crack at cutting it down? And so I did, and that's the script that we ended up using.
Okay. Well, as a writer, I can tell you, nothing hurts worse than somebody coming and telling you something you've spent years laboring on, and they come and tell you, we don't want this, we're going to cut this out. So the word abridger is acquainted to murderer when you're a writer. So
I tell you, there's something that hurts worse, which is removing the laughs.
Yes, because that was what your father was all about. He was a creator of laughs.
Exactly.
So I was very surprised that you didn't wind up doing the audiobook.
You mean narrating it?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that was the first thing they said. They said, I said, who are you going to have as narrator? And they said, we like you to do it. And I said, I don't really think you want me to do it. And so they had me do a test, and then they agreed.
Oh, okay.
I'm not. I'm perfectly comfortable talking to you. I'm perfectly comfortable on stage. Reading a script is not my strong point. So I'm not an actor. I'm not a professional narrator. When I was started doing book tour, I thought I should do readings from the book, and because that's what I'd seen other authors do, and I started out by doing that, and I just got very nervous doing it. I was not comfortable, and I don't think it went very well. And then I realized that, so I started taking questions, and then I realized I'm much more comfortable just talking off the top of my head. I know this stuff. Somebody has a question for me, that's fine. So I stopped reading stuff, and I know that's not something I do well. The only time I ever got nervous on stage was I was at an event, and I was directing a radio program, recreation, and there was a ballroom full of hundreds and hundreds of people, and I was all ready to go up on stage, and it was a Jack Benny program that we were recreating. Excellent, the top Jack Benny impersonator doing it, and everybody was terrific. And the guy who was in charge of the event came to me and said, would you mind, Stan Freberg would like to come and say a few words just before you speak. And I always do a little like stand-up, a comedy routine, very short, but before I start a show. And I said, I have to follow Stan Freberg. And Stan Freberg was one of my idols growing up.
And explain for those who don't know who he is, who Stan Freberg is.
Stan Freberg, he took Jack Benny's, he took over Jack Benny's spot on the radio when the Jack Benny program finally went off. He was a brilliant humorist. He just had the most fantastic, and he also did commercials, just hilarious stuff, very innovative. It was sort of like the Ernie Kovacs, if people have heard of him for TV. Right. Stan was like that for radio, and I just thought he was hilarious. And he'd been on the Jack Benny show, which is why he wanted to say a few words. Fortunately, for me, my wife said she's never seen me that nervous. I was pacing back and forth, and fortunately for me, Gary Owens, who people may remember from, he was the announcer on Laughing. Gary Owens was introducing famous people in the audience, and I made a list for him of people to introduce and a little something to say about each one. And he two of the pages got stuck together, and he skipped a page. And so after Freberg was done, Gary Owens had to go back up and read all the introductions he'd left out. And while that was going on, I was able to calm down. So
your father was looking out for you from up above. I think he stuck those two pages together for you.
Exactly.
Well, that's terrific. So are there any further things we can look forward to with that particular play, Lucy Loves Desi, or the book? Or is there? I guess there's no more iterations you can do of the book.
Well, the play has another iteration because it's now been published by Next Stage Press.
Fantastic.
And so now any amateur group or drama department at a high school or college or anybody for that matter, a professional group wants to produce it, they can license the script for performance, and the license comes with all the music cues, which makes it, so it's a very easy play to produce. Because of that, because it's a radio play, there's no sets. You just need some microphones on the stage, and we provide all the music. So I hope it'll get produced around the country because it's a lot of fun.
And in that 19 years that I've been doing this column, I've seen a lot of plays, I've seen a lot of musicals, I've seen a lot of all kinds of live entertainment, and that is one of the best plays I have ever seen. It was just seamless, and I'm so thankful that I saw it. Thank you for bringing it to my part of the country.
You're welcome. This is really off topic, but it just came to mind.
Sure.
Have you ever seen the Carole King musical? It's called Beautiful.
Yes, I've just seen Beautiful.
Really?
I saw it maybe a month ago.
Is that not hilarious?
At a production, a community theater production in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It was very funny and very beautiful, as the play says.
I think a lot of people went to that and thought it was going to be just a jukebox musical, they call it.
Right.
But it was brilliant. A very good friend of mine named Douglas McGrath, who's unfortunately now deceased, wrote that. He used to be an SNL writer, and he was a huge I Love Lucy fan, which is how I met him. He there were some I Love Lucy. When I saw the play, I then wrote to Doug and I said, there were a lot of I Love Lucy worthy lines in that show, and he said told me that was the greatest compliment anybody had ever given.
And even the setup, you have Jerry Goffin and Carole King and Cynthia Well and Barry Mann, and they are the Lucy and Ethel, the Ricardos and the Murches.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very, very paralleled. And, of course, I love the music. I love Carole King's music.
Sure.
I had experimented with trying to do a Dusty Springfield play, Dusty in Memphis. And Barry and Cynthia wrote one of the songs, and Carole and Jerry wrote half a dozen others that were in the play. Very near and dear to my heart. In a different way, but not so different because they are co-related, as you just pointed out. I'm gonna have to send you my review of that show and links to I got to interview one of the guys that was in the show and for this podcast, so I'll have to send that to you so you can check that out.
Thank you.
But I saw it and I enjoyed it very much. So, yes, I hope we will see some community theater productions of Lucy Loves Desi. It's a fabulous play. I feel privileged to have seen it in its original first country run. One I regret missing is I Love Lucy, the Live on Stage, the musical, where they blend 2 or 3 episodes. I wish they would bring that back in some capacity so I could see it. Cause
I saw that twice and loved it. The second time was a little unfortunate because it was a 99-seat theater in LA. The first time, everybody in the audience who goes to that is a big Lucy aficionado. They know the lines before they say them on stage, and it's just a raucous evening. The second time I went, there was an assisted living facility for senior citizens from some place in Eastern Europe, either Ukraine or Hungarian immigrants, were most of the people in that facility, and they decided to have a night out at the theater for them. Most of them didn't speak English very well. Most of them had never seen I Love Lucy, but they took them to this play. So, 65 of the 99 seats were taken by people who had no idea who Lucy was and couldn't understand a lot of what was being said, and were pretty silent during the whole thing. And it was just devastating, the difference.
Right.
In the audience is just not there.
Yeah, because you can't imagine anybody in the world not knowing who Lucy is. Speaking of that, my family and I went to Disney World last month, which is, the only way that I could be blasted out of my hometown. I live in Whitfield, Virginia, about 8,000 people. Everybody knows everybody. It's very comfortable, very southern, very, very tight-knit. A very beautiful mountainous town, but the only thing that could get me out of here to live is if I could live in Disney World, like in the midst of the park, in Disney Magic, because in addition to being a Lucy nut, I'm a Disney nut. So we went to Disney Hollywood Studios, where you could tour Hollywood the way that I would want to see Hollywood, which is the way the Ricardos and the Murches saw it. You go to the Grauman's Chinese Theater, and then next door is the Brown Derby. We had lunch at the Brown Derby. And I kept going. When I see that episode and I see her eating the spaghetti and meatballs, I'm thinking, man, that food looks so good. And I know it has nothing to do with the food that you would actually have at the Brown Derby, but it makes you want to be there, you know. And so to have eaten there, we had filet mignons. They were fantastic. And it was and I got to, they showed me where Lucy's picture was at where they have it hanging up at the Brown Derby, and they really did a fantastic job creating that.
We used to go to Disneyland every year on my birthday for a few years with Hans Conried and his family.
Yep, Hans
was the used furniture salesman. He was Percy Livermore and Lucy Harris' English tutor.
Exactly, and he is Captain Hook. Captain Hook,
yes.
And that's what's going to be my next question. Lucy had so many Disney guest stars. Verna Felton, who was Mrs. Porter, was the fairy godmother in Cinderella. You know, the woman who they bought the house from in the country, the wife, was the voice of Maleficent, and this
who played George, Liz's mother-in-law. They're my favorite husband.
Exactly. And the evil
Eleanor Audley.
Yeah, Eleanor. Yeah, and she played the evil stepmother in Cinderella. Just very iconic voice, you know. And so she had all these Disney stars. It amazed me. I thought, wouldn't Lucy have been great in one of those animated films? Or
I think what was it? The Lucy performed at the studio with Lucy and the Dummy.
Oh, okay.
The guy who introduces her. And
I Love Lucy, yes.
In I Love Lucy, I believe he was the voice of in Lady and the Tramp. I think he was the husband.
Oh, Jim Darling.
Yes.
Very good. That's great.
I think he was Verna Felton's son.
Wow. Okay. Very good. Now, I'm assuming Lucy and Walt Disney were acquainted. Do you know that? If they were,
I would be highly surprised if they weren't.
Right.
But I don't have any personal knowledge about that.
It's a shame that they, couldn't work together. Two of these great talents, and both of them had their own brand of magic. I mean, she would have been great in a Disney film, or Vivian Vance, or. I just think that would have been a great marriage of talent.
Once Lucy discovered the visual medium, I think she never looked back, even though she was great on radio.
Right.